the Magic Round is still in the rear vision mirror. And I wasn't there. Hello, I'm Adam Peacock. But two men who have differing ways of rebounding after a monumental weekend. James Graham, you look as fresh as a daisy, mate.
Thank you, Adam. Been to the gym this morning and got a bit of a sweat on. But yeah, what a weekend it was up there.
And Brent Reid, wish I could say the same.
Jimmy looks a lot fresher than what he did Saturday night when I saw him about
Oh, okay.
1 a.m. Yeah, voice is a bit rusty. It's a bit better actually today.
Yeah.
I'll try not to talk too much today, but yeah, it's a bit dodged the throat.
It is a podcast, you do realise.
I know, yeah.
It's kind of
It
important.
was very loud where we were, Jimmy, wasn't it? That bar, top of that hotel. It was very loud.
Hotel X, yeah.
You had to yell to talk. So
Yeah, I don't like places like that.
yeah, no. Too old for that
I don't
stuff.
rate that.
Clearly my voice is too old for that stuff too.
But overall, great weekend. Again, it delivered.
It sure did. Look, the first couple of games, they probably went at the standard that we've become to expect this season. But then, wow, the shocks just keep coming. The strength of our competition is its unpredictability, and it's absolutely fantastic. So, as a fan, like I'm a neutral. Obviously, I've got ties to the Bulldogs. I want to see them do well. But as a general fan of our sport and our game here in Australia, like I turn up to watch or to commentate, or I'm at home, and I don't know who's going to win. I've got predictions, I've got feelings, but there was a couple of results there on the weekend, two in particular. Like
You couldn't get your head around before it. Yeah,
like
Cowboys in particular. And we'll get to them.
Cowboys and the Dolphins.
Yeah.
Like, wow.
Yeah.
Like who's predicting that? Like what other sport offers this? Like offers that we have? It's pretty special, and we should appreciate it. And that's the beauty of Magic Round, that so many fans got to witness it live.
Well, the good thing is about the Sunday, you had a massive upset. You had two games that went down to the last play, and the very last game went down to the very last play as well. So that kind of makes the takeaway from going away from, wow, it heightens it even more.
But that
really.
encapsulates the season, don't you think? We've had so many close games, as Jimmy said, this year, and it's hard to pick winners, but they were all special days. Friday it was great opening with obviously
Canberra and the Dogs.
And then the Broncos going so well, and then Saturday obviously it's good footy as well, but Sunday a couple of cliffhangers and a shocker. I mean, the Cowboys were due to beat someone, I thought, and the Roosters have been very inconsistent this year.
Yeah, but really, they were awful last week.
They were terrible, yeah.
And they had everything to play for last week as well against the Sharks. Their defence was so brittle. Like what they've done to turn that around in a week against the attacking capabilities of the Roosters. Yeah.
Yeah.
With the weekend, just a little insight as well for those that weren't there. Like it looks from the outside looking in, it looks like the ultimate weekend away with mates. So you go there, and the Friday there's boundless excitement, and then the Saturday it's like, yeah, let's rip in again, get up and have a bacon and egg roll, maybe the coffee to heart starter, and you get to the ground, and yeah, it's great, and then you have a good night Saturday night, and then the Sunday it's like, okay, let's get through this. We're together. Let's get through. Was that the feeling when you're there as well, or is it just one prolonged festival and party all rolled into one?
Yeah, look, I think it was more of a festival-style atmosphere, and it's great that what Rugby League can do is, despite the rivalries and the hatred towards each other, we get together under the same umbrella in terms of Rugby League. So you see a multitude of jerseys. They're not sectioned. Obviously, you'll see certain teams, sort of groups of fans sit together.
Well, imagine if you did this in the Premier League, if they had something like this. English Premier League.
There'd be plenty of police...
military zone.
Yeah, well, yeah, you would. You'd need the military to come in and take care of it. So, it's phenomenal what we can do. And, spoke to plenty of families there, kids there that were, excited to see some of their stars play. A lot of people coming from regional Queensland to watch, some superstars that generally they wouldn't get to see. I think it's fantastic that we do this as a game, and long may it continue.
Adam, I had 7 mates who went actually, so I can give you an insight into whether it wears thin.
Yeah.
And 4 of them went home on Saturday night before the Melbourne South game because they were gone. They'd spent Thursday night in Byron. They'd gone to the foot. They'd stayed at the Gold Coast, gone to the footy Friday night, and by Saturday over, they were shot to bits. They didn't go Sunday.
See, that's poor. You have to.
You got to remember we're old men.
You space yourself.
I'm talking about over 45 guys, right?
You've got to be
were shot to
experienced.
bits.
Like surely experience plays a part here.
No, well, they're away from their wives for the weekend. They, they were
you know,
they were too excited. They went
Come
too
on.
hard too early.
And they missed
They
one
were
of the
gone.
missed one of the best
I
performances
think
as
they
well.
play golf at Royal Pines on Sunday, so that's not a bad consolation
Okay,
prize.
yeah, that was the
But you know,
hangover cure.
what you were saying earlier. You go hard Friday and you're all
Mm.
pumped and excited, and then you get to Saturday and
Yeah.
it's a young man's game, Magic Round.
Well,
I reckon.
in a way,
3
it
days of Magic Round. It's
It
a young man's
encapsulates
game.
how rugby league's played. It's an explosive sport, but you need endurance.
Yes.
So you need both,
spectators,
anaerobic, aerobic.
Yeah.
Anyway, Magic Man of the weekend. I'll ask the question a bit later about should it stay in Brisbane, but Magic Man of the weekend. I think the NRL should actually introduce an award,
An award.
and it maybe
Do you win like a wand or a top hat? Or
Yeah,
something?
exactly.
Oh,
but,
that's brilliant.
you throw
Well,
up 50 grand,
The golden
and
wand.
the prize money goes to the players' junior club or something. I don't know. Dude, Magic Man of the weekend. Have you got a contender for us, James?
Oh, look, it's hard just with the story not to look past the debutant for the Dolphins,
Balance Tavare.
Tafari. Yeah.
I'm with
what,
you.
What,
That's
what,
it.
what a story.
Yeah.
Like, probably in terms of defence, not the best game, but he's up against Talakai, one of the best strike centres in the game. But I just love the story. I love his tenacity, his willingness to keep going. And yeah, to bag 2 tries on your NRL debut, it's not half bad.
I like Latrell.
Yeah.
Big stage, big player, played a massive game. And no one, there's few players in our game who rise to the occasion like Latrell. And I reckon he rose to the occasion on Saturday night against Melbourne. Huge game for them. I mean, Cody was outstanding as well. But I reckon Latrell on a big stage, man, you can't beat that.
It's ominous, isn't it, for what's ahead in Origin, the big games for Souths as well. Definitely not looking past that. But his first month, Latrell, I don't know, James, did he look within himself? He looked a little passive, but now he's involving himself when he needs to be involved.
Yeah, he's in great form, and I've got a bit of a different interpretation of Latrell. Instead of rising to the occasion, that's an ordinary performance on a big occasion. So he just needs that. That's what he would count as just right. That's ordinary, but the occasion happens to be in front of 50,000 people against the Melbourne Storm. That's what he's capable of doing, and that's what it looks like he's doing. It's just, and he looks so calm. He's not over emotional. Like he's not like the kick.
Tell Harry Grant that.
But even
have been in the
even
bin
in
for
those
that?
even in those superstar moments. So that's what I'm talking about in terms of like when he pulls off a piece of exquisite skill. So he lays it on a platter for Cody Walker. Does something that we don't see very often. That try assist, they were like telepathic communication, and he just sort of runs off and gives Damien Cook a high five.
Yeah.
That's an ordinary performance, but on the big stage.
It's not fair. Should he have gone to the bin, though?
Oh, I don't think so.
No?
I didn't think there was a lot in it. It
Nah,
wasn't
probably
necessary, but it's a big game.
Paul Crawley's
Bit
written that he's
emotional.
too protected this morning.
Well, but the big guys are often happens to the stars. Like Cameron Smith. Now, he went to the Simeon once his entire career. I
Yeah, he
think,
did
Cam.
that through negotiation.
Yeah.
His
So, I
negotiation
mean,
tactics.
The bigger stars often get a bit of latitude. I think that's always the way the game's been, because there's a as much as referees won't say that they get preferential treatment, I think there's a subconscious element that you can't help it. It just happens.
Yeah, and I think the referees do know that if they sim bin the top line players, it's going to create more headlines. If it's on the fence, like a
50-50.
professional foul,
Yeah, some things.
some things, it's done.
Yeah.
But those ones that are on the fence with the big stars of the game, they know it's going to invite more scrutiny, more talking points if they take action, as opposed to sort of letting it go.
Poor old Gutho's thinking to himself, "Well, I wish I had that latitude."
I thought that was soft too. Actually, I didn't think he deserved to go to the Simeon for that. But
That's
a lot of
professional
people
foul,
thought he
meter
did.
out from your own line.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought it was soft.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Surprise of the weekend. Has to be the Cowboys, does it?
Hey, just going back to that about professional foul.
Yeah.
So in the Canberra v Dogs game, there was a professional foul before the penalty try that the Dogs got right at the end. That's not so it's if it's
It's only a sim if they don't.
if they don't give the try. I just wanted to clarify that because
Yes.
I've had a few
Yeah.
people ask me what, like, a
There's
few
no
Dogs
double jeopardy.
fans.
Yes.
Yeah, there's no double jeopardy because there was a little bit of confusion there that I was in the box with some Canterbury fans and they were saying like, well, hang on, we've got one set or 2 or 3 minutes left and we're playing against 12 and then they're sort of counting the numbers. But yeah, just to be sure,
Yes.
you can't get double jeopardy.
Yes.
If the penalty try hadn't have been awarded, they would have gone down to 12, but because it was,
Yep.
the players left on the field.
Yeah.
But yeah, sorry, back to surprise.
Surprise of the weekend?
Cowboys.
Yeah.
The turnaround in what? 9 days, 10 days.
Well, they helped by the fact that it dumped down and it made it
Yep.
the style that they wanted. They wanted to just play through the middle and, prove
Absolutely.
themselves defensively after the debacle at Shark Park.
Yeah, no doubt. The rain and the wet and the track is a leveler.
Mm.
It is. So I think it did add to that most definitely.
I'm going Dolphins.
Yeah?
Cronulla were in such good form. Dolphins had a few players out.
Why are we still surprised by the Dolphins, though?
Well, that's a good point. But the Roosters have been a bit up and down lately. And as I said, I think the Cowboys were due to beat someone because they're too good a side to be playing the way they are. So I wasn't actually shocked by that result. But I was shocked by Cronulla and how bad they were.
Yeah.
And the Dolphins and probably how good they were. Because I'm like a lot of people, I think we've all been expecting the Dolphins to at some point to taper off a bit, particularly with the injuries they've had. But they were unbelievable. And the Sharks were so bad.
Yeah.
So bad.
Big turning point in that game at the 3-minute mark where it was Jermaine Osarko's chase back on Ronaldo Mulatalo to knock that ball out. We were calling that game, weren't we, really?
Yeah.
And, you talk about or you think about maybe sliding doors moments about what if, and I think that was a huge play from Osarko that went on to have huge ramifications for how the game, especially the first half, played out.
I've got a lesser of a surprise. It's not the surprise of the weekend, but I'll throw it in here in this little category. My surprise is that everyone's surprised at Manly's form. I'm not, if that makes sense. So the double negative there. They've still got the same problems as last year in a football sense, purely football, none of the other noise around about new coach, about prior jerseys, about whatever. That I was saying to James before we came on, they've got too many. It feels like they've got too many players who, when you need just the basics done right, the 1%ers, just the simple stuff, get up and play it quick on play 4 and 5, just to get that roll on. Too many times Daly Cherry Evans the other night was kicking off his back foot. He's under the pump so much from the kick chase that they've got too many players that don't do the 1%ers when they're absolutely required, and they place themselves under pressure.
They played really poorly the past month. Take out the Melbourne game, where they were really good defensively. They've been really flat, I think, the past month. Really, really poor. Even that game, though, the other night, I mean, they were 20-0 down, I think, and they dominated the early stages of that second half. And then Daly makes a break, and he's got Tommy wide open inside him, and he looked outside. And, 26, maybe they're a chance. Maybe they've got some momentum, some wind in their sails. But it's little things like that. And Daly's, I shouldn't be singling out Daly because Daly's been the one bloke you cannot criticise for the way he's played over the opening 10 weeks of the season. I mean, he's been outstanding for them. But it's little things like that Josh Alloway losing the ball, just
3
dropping
times.
the ball, on the line. They're just in a bit of a funk, and hopefully they need to snap out of it because they're sort of drifting, aren't they? I think they feel, are they out of the top 8 or are they just in it after the weekend? I can't remember.
They're on 11, so they'll be on the.
Well, they are.
on the
They're out there
precipice.
because there's 7 teams on 12 points, so they're out of the 8, and they've got a horror draw, and they're about to hit Origin where they'll lose Daly, maybe Tommy, maybe Jakey.
James, your take?
Yeah, look, they were really poor on Friday night. I think they at half time they were completed something like 7 from 14, which is 50%. So they had none of the ball, and what that does is you just completely lose the energy battle. So if you look in the context of that game, what the energy battle means is that every kick that Cherry Evans takes is under pressure.
Mm-hmm.
So he's under the pump, and then the Manly players don't kick chase. They don't put the same amount of pressure on Reece Walsh, Selwyn Cobbo. Then they're not. The kick isn't effective enough for them to go and apply pressure. But then you contrast that to what Brisbane had: is Adam Reynolds kicking with all the time in the world, exactly where he wants to put it. As soon as Tommy Taboyevich catches a ball, Ricky's there, to manhandle him.
Yeah.
Like there was a real, like Ricky does really well to do that, and it's obviously a tactic, but it's only something that you can do if you've got energy.
Yeah.
And you're kicking on the front foot, and that's exactly what happened. And then the compound effect of that was there to see that Manly couldn't get out their own end, or then go and make another error. So that was Manly's biggest problem, is they just, Brisbane were good, but I think Manly contributed to that in terms of beating themselves a little bit as well.
One last surprise of the weekend, and it's actually from a man in this studio right now. The surprise is that he's actually here today after this is what he sounded like yesterday.
He's a pretty selfless guy, Ben, so I'd imagine if the Dragons get out to a lead, Ben Hunt will play some more.
How many stripsels have you been through?
Smashed a few.
What happened?
Credit
Reedy?
to Glenn Jackson for bringing
Come on,
me. I was on the sideline and Jacko arrived with a box of strepsils for me.
But you were reefed.
I was hooked, for the next game.
Charlie's
hooked me.
put you on the bench.
Unbelievable scenes.
Were you ready to go for that
Oh,
second
mate,
game?
I was ready to go. As
Yeah.
I said to him, you can take the boy out of Goodner, you can't take Goodner out the boy. I was ready to aim up again.
Are you still going to put in the invoice
But,
for the game that you weren't
No, I
allowed
won't
to
do that, no. Maybe.
Oh,
We'll
it
see.
wasn't your fault. It wasn't your choice.
Well, it was my fault. It wasn't my choice.
Yeah, well, true. True.
Yeah, anyway, I can understand.
Have you got? I know Reedy's mail's a bit later. Have you got any mail about who was like MVP off the
off the field?
Off the field?
Oh.
James, you
I'll
can
have a think
fire
about
in
that.
an
I'll have a
off
think about
here
that
as well.
one. There were some contenders, I've got to say.
Can't really think.
I'll tell you guys, all right? Christian Nicolosi.
Oh yeah,
He likes to drink, that guy. I can't keep up with him. He's
Christian gets
unbelievable.
Lucy, huh?
He's a dangerous
Yeah.
human.
Have a think about that. See if we can come back to it, James, and someone that might not incriminate you as well. Exactly. Just on the Roosters, we mentioned the Cowboys as a surprise of the weekend. Is that the possibility of an avenue for Sam Walker to come back in a performance like that yesterday? I know that's always going to be the storyline because you've got a player of his talent, not in first grade. So just by the way journalism works and just by the way public interest works, that's the question going forward. Manu and Kiri, the experiment, was that the problem yesterday? Does Walker walk back in?
I like that line. Does Walker walk back in?
Thanks very much.
That's brilliant. You've been thinking about that for a while, haven't you?
Actually.
Yeah.
Just have it there.
Look, I don't think the Roosters should overreact. Like Reedy said just earlier, they're one of 7 teams that are on a 5-4 record, and they're on the same as of those 7 teams. One of them is the Roosters, obviously, and then you've got Penrith, the Sharks, and the Storm as well. So those clubs all in exactly the same position, and you string 2 or 3 wins together, and then you separate yourself from that pack.
Yep.
And you're top 3, because there's above that there is only the Broncos, Souths, and the Dolphins. So
I would say the other issue with bringing Sam Walker back is that would mean moving Manu back to the centres. And Billy Smith was their best player by the length of a straight on Sunday.
yeah,
And he's not going to drop Swalihi. So unless you move Swalihi to the wing, you can't bring him back. There's no avenue to bring him back. So
well, the one thing you could do is swap him out for Luke Keary.
Cool.
you could
Big
do that.
call.
That would be a big call, Jimmy.
It would, well, but I'm saying if that's
That's the other
if
option.
That's the other option.
Yeah, that's a big option.
I personally think the Roosters will have a plan, and there's always options for a rethink. But I'm of the belief that they will, once Origin comes around, Tedesco obviously leaves, Manu to fullback, Walker back into 5'8". I think they would have always had that in mind.
Yep.
That's how Sam comes back. And look, there's a multitude of reasons of why the Roosters lost to the Cowboys, but I think that's to blame it, to think the solution after 2 weeks out of first grade is to bring Sam Walker back. I don't think Coach Robinson is the type of person to react to that, to one performance like that.
What do you make of Jared wanting to get all vigilante?
It was a bit old
crack
school,
you,
wasn't
bro.
it? It was, leave him on. I'll get him. Like I actually enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it.
We spoke to Jermaine Tanura-Brown after the game, actually.
Yeah.
Nick Lucy and I got him after the game, and he was quite interesting because he's obviously a kid who's grown up idolising Jared.
Yeah.
And I said, mate, what was going through your head when he's going, I'm going to crack you, G. He said he's a scary man. He's a scary man. But he said, that's you challenge yourself against guys like that. You can't back down.
Yeah.
And he didn't back down. So he's a pretty intimidating guy, though, Jared.
He is.
Has he ever threatened to crack you, Jimmy, when you were playing?
Not words to that effect, but we've had a few minor scuffles or come to head.
What's he like to rumble with?
Oh, he just throws everything at you. Like elbows, knees, he's a horrible man to tackle. Really nice. I've met him a couple of times off the field. Great bloke.
Oh,
But just on the field, like for Roosters or the Kiwis, yuck.
He is. He's the complete opposite of what he's like on the field, off the field. He's such a good bloke, Jared. And he hasn't done a lot of media, actually, in the past couple of years. He's stopped doing interviews, basically, because he said, I'm an age now, we're on a focus on my footy. But he actually spoke on the weekend. Again, Christian and I got him at Roosters training. So I reckon it's the first time I've spoken to him in about a year. I've said hello to him, but never done an interview with him. And
He's going around again?
Well, it looks like he will, yeah. He's saying, it'll be at the Roosters or nowhere. But he's started talks with them about going around again. I'd imagine the way he's playing, they'll keep him around.
That's what I thought when I read that. Sorry, Jimmy, the story this morning, I think it was in the Telegraph about Matt Lodge maybe moving on, and the hint was, big hint, that he'd be wearing a Manly jersey soon.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, obviously they've brought in Spencer Lanu for next season.
Yep.
Is there a chance Jared would go overseas or?
No, he said he wouldn't go, Jimmy,
Wouldn't
because
go.
he had the opportunity in the off-season to go to Catalans with Steve McNamara, who's used to be on the Roosters staff. Is a coach at Catalans, and he could have gone, and he said no. He's got three young kids, and he said it's not the right time to move the family. So it's basically he said it's the Sydney Roosters or nowhere.
No, fair enough. He's playing well enough to go again.
Yeah.
I guess in that position when you've played that long in that position, become sort of August, July time, probably time that'd be the time to make the call. And
it's not like he's playing 80. He's playing.
Well,
he can get away with playing 30 to 40 a game. Can't he?
Exactly. And as Lindsay Collins will get more experience. He's an Origin player now.
Yeah.
Spencer Lanu, like the demand on him from Coach Robinson won't be as high.
Yeah.
What do you make of the noise? Speaking of Origin players, what do you make of the noise that Ricky was raising after the Canberra win? That Hudson Young I said it a few weeks ago. I don't know if it was this forum or Footy Talk that I don't know if you'd put him instead of Olakau'atu because they're two different style of players. Olakau'atu is a brilliance power player where Hudson Young just turns up and turns up and turns up. I don't know if they can carry both. I don't know with Liam Martin's situation with New South Wales, but I'm tending to agree with the Canberra staff that Hudson Young would not look out of place in that arena.
He wouldn't look out of place, but you've got Liam Martin on one side and then probably Cameron Murray on the other.
But Martin, we haven't seen him.
Yeah, but he's done enough to keep that jersey, and I think he'll be right by then. And then I guess when you look to the bench, what would you prefer coming on, Olakau'atu or Hudson Young?
You got Angus Crichton around as well. Obviously, he'll be in the mix, but he wouldn't look. Hudson Young wouldn't look out of place. He's a footballer, huh?
Oh mate, I love
footballer.
watching him play.
Yeah.
Love watching him play. He has that bit of variety with the one-on-one strip as well. But I think in terms of what the New South Wales side may need, I think they might need more of an Olakau'atu coming off the bench as opposed to Hudson Young.
It wouldn't surprise if he got a chance at some point in the series because
Yeah.
you always have injuries
Yeah.
or suspensions, and he's got to be knocking on the door. He was knocking on the door of the Kangaroo Tour last year. His name was getting bandied around for that.
Yeah, he certainly wouldn't look out of place. He's earned this shot.
He's got a bit of niggle in him too.
He strikes me as a player.
Yeah.
That we always talk about the differences between Queensland and New South Wales. He strikes me as a player who would be more likely to play for Queensland than New South Wales, if you know what I mean.
Because he's good, or
No, just the style.
Queensland are talking.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sometimes Queensland pick this player and you go, oh, how's he got a role? And then you look at the little bits of his game, just like I was talking about with these 1%ers, that Origin's the type of place where if you're not doing the 1%ers, you're going to get badly exposed. That he just feels like the type of player that, Queensland, not New South Wales, the rubbish that you guys always go on with, Reddy.
We'll take him if he wants to play. Where's he from?
Maxville.
He's in Maxville. That's in Queensland. He's a great story, actually, because, he had a really rough time when he was a bit early in his football career. He had some trouble. He's turned it around in Canberra. They've done a great job for him. It's really interesting because he's only got a year left on his contract, Hudson Young, and they're trying to extend him. He's very close to Jack Whiten.
Good time to be off contract if you're playing like that.
So they're knee deep in talks with him at the moment, trying to extend him out. He's got some admirers around the NRL.
Well, you can get some of Jack's money that he left on the table down in the nation's capital. Tigers, Dragons. When we mention this game and the fallout from it, what springs to mind?
Yeah, unlucky Dragons.
Did you see the press conference, Jimmy? Did you
No.
see Anthony Griffin? He looks so defeated. So defeated. He just looked like a beaten man. I've never seen him look that just beaten down by it all.
I read what he said. I didn't listen to what he said, but it read like, well, there's no point in giving up. May as well you get back on the horse and keep going and search for what we're searching for. But the body language told a different story, did it?
To me, he just looked like he was obviously drained by it all. And the way they lost, it's got to cut deep because they were so,
Well, they've lost by less than 6 points in their last 4 losses. So
5 it is.
Sorry, 5, yeah. So they beat the Dolphins and then they've lost 5 straight, but they've all been
6 points or less.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is devastating. And really, if they ice that moment at the end, it was the bit of fortune that the Dragons have been praying for. Ben Hunt on the half volley over the top. It's like they were going nowhere in that set. It looked like it was going to be Ben Hunt was just going to launch it, and it was going to be do your best, see what happens. A little bit of fortune, half volley over the top. Reminded me of Reedy in his day, in his heyday, at that very same park as well. Hey, Reedy.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
But basically all Moses Suli needed to do was draw and pass. He just waited that little bit too long, but. Credit to Bula and the rest of the Tigers players that were in the picture. That was a phenomenal try save. Not the first one Bula did either. He's a talent, but
I like watching the Dream. He's good.
The Dream.
They just
We're in the Dream.
They just can't catch a trick at the moment. The Dragons, you've got to feel for them. You really do because they're trying. They're trying.
Well, you said, Reedy, that then whatever movement's going to happen is not going to happen this week because they get on a plane and go north from Brisbane. They're going up to North Queensland to prepare for that game.
I think they're on the sunny coast, Sunshine Coast up there. Then they're going to fly up.
That is a beautiful spot.
Townsville, I think they're going to Twin Waters or something like that.
There's a golf course there.
Got a golf course, yeah.
One of the fallout. Sorry, Reedy.
Well, it could happen. I'm not saying it won't. I'm just saying it's unlikely.
Yeah. One of the fallouts from that game is I think Ben Hunt's days of playing number 7.
How do you think he'll take that, Jimmy? I know he's saying all the right things at the moment, but when you're the captain of the footy club...
He's basically saying he doesn't want to play there, isn't he?
Yeah.
Don't you have to put yourself aside and think, I'm the leader of this football club? I clearly... It's not so much about what everyone else is saying, it's about what the coaching staff is saying. And surely he even recognised, because he's a smart footy player, that he is more effective as a 9.
Yeah, and I think it should be, look, I've got an opportunity to provide to this team by playing 9.
Yeah.
But Jimmy, surely... You can say shouldn't he put that aside? But if you're not enjoying where you're playing, and you don't want to be there, doesn't matter if you're the captain of the side or number 30 on the list. That's hard. It's hard to hide that you can do it for a week or 2 weeks, but if he's staring down a season next year of playing hooker,
Reedy, it's like ironing.
And he doesn't enjoy it.
I can iron, but I don't like doing it too often.
I whinge about it to my wife all the time. I say, Kyle's, will you iron something for me? She says no.
In this context, it's about there's many a team where I tell you what, okay. Do you reckon he'll play number 9 for Queensland? And you say, I'd rather be 7, or do you think he'd be all in?
But he wouldn't. He's not the best. He's not the best 7 for Queensland, though.
But do you think he'd be all in
for Queensland?
Absolutely.
Yeah, of course he will.
Yeah. So why can't he do that for the Dragons?
Because he probably thinks he's the best 7 at the Dragons. He should be playing there.
Okay, if you're picking the team tomorrow for the Dragons, if you want to get the result, where are you picking him?
I'll pick him at 7.
Based off what we saw, the change in the Dragons yesterday.
It's one game, and they lost anyway. I would. You'd pick him at 9. So you reckon this? I would. Do you think this week they'll name him? Do you think this week? Would you keep doing what they're doing, which is Sullivan, as it did in the weekend, off the bench after 20 or whatever it was? Or would you start him at hooker?
I think, if you're Sullivan, just start the kid. You see, he scored 2 tries.
There was a noticeable difference in the Dragons when he came on.
He's got a real swagger about him too.
Yeah.
Kid, hasn't he?
He
What
is,
kid doesn't?
and if so, that's what they need to work out is what's best for the team. What's going to be more likely for us to get results. So if Queensland do it and play him at 9, then why can't it happen at the Dragons? And I get it that he signed as 7. He wants to play 7, but you know what's even better than playing number 7? Winning, singing the team song.
Yeah, but it's hard for a footballer to accept that. Surely he thinks we can win with me at 7. That's
Yeah.
I can imagine that
All
would be
right,
going.
okay,
through
yeah,
his head.
and I get that, but then has it been happening?
No.
So you might think I'm better at 7 for this team, but let's look at the recent results. And I know, but I'm good mates with Benny Hunt, but you've got to do what's best for the team. And I know he's saying that, but then just that little caveat of
Yeah. We'll see what happens this week. It's time now for our WTF moment of the week. There's a few nominations.
Now, the WTF moment.
You want to lead us, Jimmy?
I'll leave us off.
Go for it.
We mentioned the Catalans
Yeah.
and the Super League.
Yeah.
Well,
I know where you're going.
in the pre-game entertainment, there's a bull on the field. Like
Oh, that was
we've seen
unbelievable.
squirrels. I think we've seen cats, foxes, birds at Melbourne, but a bull on the
There's a
field.
very much
Wow.
intact bull.
Jumping
around that ground.
And what about old mate holding on to it as well, getting dragged to the fit? Like, it's one of them. What would you do in this situation? I would let go. He just holds on like he's going to stop it. He gets dragged about 10 meters, and then it was
Good nom. Good nom. Agree.
It was. I mean, you go to the pre-game entertainment has come a long way since I used to go to the game. I don't even know. Like, what are you supposed to be impressed by seeing a bull? You're like, you're not at the PBR. Like, what? Who sat round in that market meeting and goes, obviously in French, so blah blah blah, blah. Bull, and then but.
We.
Yeah. You can just imagine. Let's pretend we're in it. We'll translate for them.
Yeah.
It'd be a good idea for the game. Get the crowd really fired up.
What, James?
Can we take a bull round?
Oh, why not?
There's
Sounds
two
like a
of them.
great
I think there
idea.
were 2 there, weren't there? Just one guy.
I just saw the one that got away.
Ooh,
yeah,
But
that-
like, yeah, and you go, yeah, well, why not?
Yeah.
Let's do that. I mean, yeah.
Ready?
You know what? I want to call out Qantas. 'Cause you know what?
Here we
I was at the airport this
Joycey.
morning in Brisbane.
Joycey, the last days off.
Before I got to the airport, I got a text message saying your plane's delayed by 2 hours.
Ooh.
Then I got to the airport
Yeah.
and it's delayed again by 40 minutes.
Yeah.
It's very frustrating. How hard is it to get your schedule on time?
Couldn't you be bumped onto another plane, or you're on the cheap flight that you couldn't
No,
be?
cheap flight, of
moved.
course. Yeah.
It's
It was
unfortunate.
very annoying though. Almost, I made us late for this.
Yeah.
I didn't have a lot of time to
Prep.
call my mail and
Really,
stuff.
the mailbox is just empty.
It was very frustrating. Anyway, Qantas, get your act together. Come on, man.
My WTF moment of the week is the thought that's gone through people's minds is that this event could move out of Brisbane.
Oh, crazy.
It's surely. I know the negotiation practice is let's not confirm something and let's try and extract a bit of money out of the Queensland government. But as we said last week, the Queensland government's rebuilding the Gabba for $2.8 billion. I think they've got a few extra dollars to put Magic Round up there. So surely, Reedy, it doesn't go anywhere.
No, well, they've got another year on the contract. My
Yeah.
view is you just keep it there until people stop coming. At some point, people will get a bit. They won't reject it, but they'll.
Because in England it
Get
moved
over
around,
it,
didn't
right?
it?
Yeah.
It was
It
up in
did, but
Newcastle for a bit.
Yeah, but there's cities that can host in England where you look here in Australia. Well, would you bring it to Sydney?
No.
So
way.
The Auckland Nines ran its race in Auckland, so I think it's maybe it won't in Brisbane run its race, but I just think wherever people are going there, wherever the government's putting money in, you just keep it there. Why move it? Why
yeah,
mess
that's
with
it.
Why?
Why move? So I think you just keep going to Brisbane.
And if
Yeah,
you're
like
not
you
gonna
say,
get
really, like why change it? And I think people will still go. Like it's the time of year where Sydney gets a little bit colder, or New South Wales does, so you get plenty of interest in a reason to go to Brisbane.
Well, Andrew Abdo was on with you guys yesterday on the radio saying that that these are the reasons why we have it where we have it, like in terms of on the calendar and also the geographical location.
So
And if you're not going to give Brisbane the grand final, you've got to give them something because the fans up there deserve it.
Absolutely.
So keep giving the Magic Round.
Hey, just one out of the weekend as well about, mentioned before, talking shop about Origin. Nico Hines was decidedly below his standards that he set himself when he's been back so far this season. Did Wayne and the Dolphins kind of give the New South Wales selectors a lot more to think about where to place Nico in a blue jersey this forthcoming winter?
I think Luai's given him a bit more to think about because he's playing better. I think that's probably helped him. But it's one game. Nico has been outstanding. Oh, there's the ball on the TV, Jimmy.
As we talk about it right here. There it is.
That's crazy.
how good's the players running with the pads?
Look at the trainer. Look how quick he moved.
All my AF security just walks over.
But he has been. Look, I think you've got to look at it over the course of it. You can't look at it on one game. And Nico's been the form player, the form 6. For 8, I think he missed the first 1 or 2 games for 8 weeks. So one bad game, one swallow doesn't make a summer.
Yeah. And he still took the line on a lot. He still plenty of runs.
Yep.
Kicked well. Like the Sharks are generally poor, so I don't think it should be a reaction to that one particular game.
I think the bigger issue is that Jerome's playing better footy the last couple of weeks. For me, that's the bigger issue.
Fair enough. Let's get to Reedy's mail if there's anything in it.
Reedy's mail.
Bit nervous about this first item because I reckon I've said it about 3 times already this year.
Great mail.
But this week, I'm expecting a Craig Bellamy decision this week. Now, I spoke to Craig on Friday. I went out to
before the game.
Langlands Park, and Craig said there's a decision coming next week or 2. He said, I'm going to make it's time. I've got to make it.
Yeah.
It'll be in one. It could be this week. It could be next week.
And there's still no idea which way it's going to be?
Well, Melbourne people are starting to think he will go again now. And I know there's some meetings in Melbourne this week with Craig. So, look, I think it's coming this week. And the gut feeling in Melbourne is that he'll go around again.
Okay.
And I've got to say, he looks like he's enjoying it, but he didn't particularly enjoy Saturday night. But when I saw Craig earlier in the year, he looked really drawn. He looked really. It looked like it was weighing really heavily on him, and he looked quite fatigued by coaching again. But I reckon the last month or so, he's looked a bit fresher, and he looks like he's enjoying it a bit more. So, look, Melbourne people think he's going to go around again. That's their feeling at the moment. But hopefully, we might know this week.
Wow.
And the significance there's a significance of that for the Dragons as well, because I think we all assume, or the whisper is that Jason Rolls is Melbourne's preferred option.
Yeah.
And he's the Dragons' preferred option. And I think his preference would be Melbourne. So if Craig goes again for another year and the Dragons do decide that they want to chase Rolsey, maybe that might be enough to convince Rolsey to go to the Dragons and coach there next year. So there's a lot up in the air.
Matt Tripp is a persuasive character, though, so he could just bump up Jason Rolls' contract to say, stay here, be the assistant,
for one more
and
year.
it is yours after. Who knows?
He could do that,
What else is in the mail? Because up there, it would have been great. Like, you not only got the games, you got all teams preparing, you got
Everyone was around,
everyone around.
Yeah,
So
no,
surely you've got enough storage for 2 weeks.
It's the
Reedy.
best thing about it, the networking you do. Networking, that's what we call it.
That's you.
That's why my throat's so sore. I was networking all
You're
the
the king of it.
Look, I mean, a big week for Vegas. We all know Pete's over there at the moment. He's just been to the
He's
Kentucky
gone.
Derby.
He went.
He went to the Kentucky Derby at the weekend.
Of course he did.
And now after that, he's heading to Vegas. He's going to meet Andrew Abdo over there.
Yep.
And look, this week's a huge week because they'll do most of the planning for it this week. And if they come back at the end of this week and they've got most of it betted away, book your tickets, baby.
He sounded enthusiastic
We're
about
going.
it yesterday, didn't he?
He sure did.
Andrew
He
Abdo.
sure did. And I like the fact that they've got a little bit of a plan in place and some very positive reasons for our game. Why it's not just, oh, let's just go for something to do or a little bit of
get
a,
on the
a
juice
fun
in
trip.
Vegas,
There's a plan, there's an idea, and there's strategic plans there.
There is a
about-
school of thought we should take Magic Round over there.
Nope.
No good?
Nah.
What was that?
Well, firstly, your costs explode
That's true.
in getting everyone over there, and a whole round in the middle of winter off Australian shore. No. You got to the whole thing about Magic Round is getting the rugby league commune together from every part, and everyone
Well, they could all
congregating.
fly to Vegas.
Huh?
They could all fly to Vegas.
Well, what about the old El Paso thought? Why can't we have both? Have the Brisbane Magic Round and have Vegas as well.
Yeah, I suppose.
Yeah.
That's not a bad shout.
Thanks.
And finally, look, KO Weeks, the Manly played fullback 2 weeks ago, I think, when Tommy's out. He's about to. Looks like he'll sign a new deal at Manly. He's off contract at the end of the year. A few clubs been hovering around KO, but looks like he'll stay at Manly.
Because he can play 6 as well.
He can play 6. He's got a bit of talent. He was a bit disappointing a couple of weeks ago when he stood in for Tommy, but they've got a lot of belief in him on the Northern Beaches, and he's a young kid. He's going to go a long way.
Were you in Wayne's press conference on the
I
weekend?
didn't go to Wayne's press conference,
Oh, you
no.
didn't? Oh.
No, he's not a big fan of mine, Wayne.
Isn't he?
No, we had a fallout a long time ago anyway.
And you've been on the Hop Sings list
I'm on-
ever since?
Yeah, I'm on
Black
the
Band.
outer. Yeah, so I didn't bother going, no.
Oh,
I went to was that Anthony Griffith's press conference?
okay.
I didn't go to. I would have loved to gone to Trent Robinson's. I didn't go to that one.
Yeah.
Did he fire up, Robbo?
I didn't see it.
Okay.
James was on his way to the airport.
Okay.
He didn't
Anyway,
mind.
that's the mail.
That's
Sorry,
the mail.
it wasn't. But the bag wasn't that full today.
No, it wasn't.
No.
It wasn't.
Anyway.
Gentlemen, thank you for backing up straight after Magic Round. It's